This Sunday, July the 19th, 2020, at WWE The Horror Show at Extreme Rules, we will witness the first ever Wyatt swamp fight between the Monster Among Men, the current Universal Champion, Braun Strowman, and the returning Eater of Worlds, Bray Wyatt. Also, an eye for an eye match between Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins. Drew McIntyre will defend his WWE Championship against Dolph Ziggler. As well, we will find out the stipulation for that match the day of the Horror Show at Extreme Rules this Sunday, July the 19th. So be sure to tune in and watch my live reactions, play-by-play live right here on YouTube. Thank you for listening to my WWE The Horror Show at Extreme Rules 2020 preview predictions. Apollo Crews will also defend his United States Championship against Montel Vontavious Porter, MVP. The winner will walk out with the newly designed United States Championship that MVP debuted a few weeks back on Monday Night Raw. Asuka and Bayley will both defend their Raw and SmackDown Women's Championships as well, along with a freshly added match coming off of the Go Home SmackDown this evening. The New Day will defend their SmackDown Tag Team Championships against Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura in a tables match now, after Cesaro defeated Big E earlier this evening on Friday Night SmackDown. With the win, Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura, they were allowed to pick the stipulation. They chose a tables match. It was either going to be a tables match or a steel cage match. They went with the tables match. New Day come Sunday, though, they'll retain and they'll still be your SmackDown Tag Team Champions after the Horror Show at Extreme Rules. New name for Extreme Rules this year, along with a freshly designed new logo. No more red and black. It's now purple with a yellowish green, and now it's called the Horror Show at Extreme Rules. It seems like all these matches have stipulations. We'll get another cinematic match with Braun Strowman and Bray Wyatt, a non-title Wyatt swamp fight. So if Bray Wyatt wins, he unfortunately, at this point in time, would not become the new Universal Champion. We'll have to wait for that until WWE SummerSlam next month, because we will get the third and final act in this series with Strowman and Wyatt as they fought at Money in the Bank. It was the returning Black Sheep version of Braun Strowman against the Firefly Funhouse Bray Wyatt. Now returning Eater of Worlds Bray Wyatt going up against the Monster Among Men. Come SummerSlam, we'll get the Monster versus the Fiend for the Universal Championship, and then at that point, I do believe Bray Wyatt would become Universal Champion once again. Only time's going to tell, though. So Braun Strowman going home to the swamp for the first ever Wyatt swamp fight against Bray Wyatt this Sunday at the Horror Show at Extreme Rules. Be sure to tune in to watch my live reactions as mentioned earlier. Also be sure to like, follow, and subscribe on social media as always. Links in the description below. Hit that thumbs up button. Share on social media. Chat questions and comments. Always greatly appreciated as well. Thank you once again for tuning in and listening to my WWE The Horror Show at Extreme Rules preview predictions. So without further ado, let's get into it. New Day versus Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura in a tables match for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. As mentioned earlier, I believe the New Day will win this. They'll walk out of the WWE Horror Show at Extreme Rules still your SmackDown Tag Team Champions after defeating Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura, due to the fact that last week on Friday Night SmackDown, Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura stood tall, held those SmackDown Tag Team Championships high in the air, and then also after tonight with Cesaro defeating Big E, Cesaro and Nakamura then allowed to pick the stipulation. It's now a tables match. Either Cesaro or Nakamura is going to go through that table, because the New Day, Big E, and Kofi Kingston will retain their SmackDown Tag Team Championships this Sunday at the Horror Show at Extreme Rules. Asuka will defend her Raw Women's Championship against Sasha Banks, while Bayley will defend her SmackDown Women's Championship against Nikki Cross. Asuka's going to defeat Sasha, because come SummerSlam, we're finally going to get Bayley versus Sasha Banks for the SmackDown Women's Championship. So with Nikki Cross standing tall, backstage after a moment of bliss and the tag team match earlier this evening on SmackDown. Bayley will also retain, so Asuka and Bayley will both win on Sunday at the Horror Show at Extreme Rules, setting up Asuka for potentially Shayna Baszler after she just returned on Monday Night Raw, and then Bayley versus Sasha Banks for the SmackDown Women's Championship. The United States Championship will be on the line as well, as Apollo Crews will defend against MVP. Intercontinental Championship was defended earlier this evening as AJ Styles defended and defeated the original bro Matt Riddle in tonight's main event of WWE Friday Night SmackDown. And now we also have some breaking news, as TNA Slammiversary is now tomorrow night, July the 18th, 2020, followed by the Horror Show at Extreme Rules on July the 19th. But the breaking news is TNA Impact Wrestling just got a whole lot sweeter, as the Good Brothers themselves, Machine Gun Carl Anderson and Big LG Luke Gallows, talking shop is going to Impact Wrestling, and they will be live on pay-per-view tomorrow night for TNA Slammiversary 2020. Congratulations to the Good Brothers, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. Good for them. They should have never been released by the WWE back in April. However, due to circumstances, they were. However, at the same time, other than the OC, Too Sweet Me folks with AJ Styles, they really never did anything with Gallows and Anderson. So good for Gallows and Anderson. Go get them in TNA Impact Wrestling. And now Impact has given us wrestling fans a reason to tune in and watch. Hopefully you'll tune in for Extreme Rules live reactions, though, on Sunday. However, the other mid-card championship in the WWE, the United States Championship, as I mentioned, Apollo Crews MVP on Sunday at the Horror Show at Extreme Rules. The winner will walk out with the newly designed United States Championship. The MVP debuted on Monday Night Raw a few weeks back, as mentioned earlier. I believe MVP is going to win this. They'll have to figure out what they're going to do with Apollo Crews then later. I've said before, potentially Apollo Crews, Kevin Owens for the United States Championship. However, with Kevin Owens sort of in a storyline once again with Seth Rollins, we'll see what happens there as well. I believe MVP is going to win because he still has Bobby Lashley by his side. The Hurts business, as they've been calling it, on Monday Night Raw. MVP wins the U.S. title. Bobby Lashley turns on him. Come SummerSlam, MVP puts over Bobby Lashley, and Lashley becomes your new United States champion. Two former tag team partners will battle it out for the WWE Championship, as the chosen one, the Scottish psychopath Drew McIntyre, will defend his WWE Championship against the show-off Dolph Ziggler, in which Ziggler will get to choose the stipulation, but we will not find out what that stipulation is until the day of the Horror Show at Extreme Rules. It'll probably be a stipulation that no one has ever heard of before, knowing the WWE. However, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a typical cage match, no count out, no holds barred, no DQ, a ladder match for God's sakes, something that's used time and time again. But in the meantime, we'll just have to sit back and wait and see until we have this WWE Championship match at Extreme Rules between McIntyre and Ziggler. Heath Slater returned a few weeks ago on Monday Night Raw as well, alongside Ziggler, in which Drew defeated his former 3MB partner, Jinder Mahal, still on the shelf. Heath Slater could show up at TNA Slammiversary tomorrow night, along with EC3 and maybe even Hawkins and Ryder. We'll have to see about all that. I'll have details come Sunday at Extreme Rules, so be sure to tune into the live stream right here on YouTube. But McIntyre defeated Slater. Ziggler then attacked, and then both McIntyre and Slater stood tall. Heath Slater basically got his send-off from the WWE. I would keep Heath Slater around. I would re-sign him once Jinder's able to return. You still have McIntyre as your WWE champion, maybe. You have a triple threat with the 3MB for the WWE title. I think people would really want to see that. I think people would actually buy into it and watch They're worried about ratings as they normally are. As mentioned before, I could care less about ratings for whatever company it is. I just want good professional wrestling. But come Sunday at the Horror Show at Extreme Rules, I believe Drew McIntyre is going to retain. It would be stupid to take the title off of Drew McIntyre and put it on Dolph Ziggler, of all people. No offense to Nick Nemeth, but Ziggler's just not a WWE champion in 2020. It's not 2013 anymore, the night after WrestleMania 29 cashing in against Alberto Del Rio. That time has come and gone, especially when on Monday Night Raw they're building up Randy Orton for a top championship feud. McIntyre defeats Ziggler. Come SummerSlam, we get the chosen one against the Viper for the WWE Championship. The only way to win this next match is to extract your opponent's eye from its socket. Rey Mysterio, Seth Rollins, eye for an eye match. Someone's going to be looking like Rooster Cogburn after the Horror Show at Extreme Rules. I've gone back and forth on this. Honestly, really, how are they going to make it look like either Mysterio or Rollins, for that matter, just got one of their eyes, if not both of them, ripped out of its socket? Like with Mysterio, okay, I get he has his mask. This feud's been going on for a few months now. Rollins at first bashed Mysterio's right eye into the steel steps. He's been wearing a patch ever since. So really, Rollins is going to have to take out Mysterio's left eye now. But to make it look real, to make it actually look like Rollins took out Mysterio's left eye, or Mysterio took out one of, or if not both, as mentioned, Seth Rollins' eyes, is okay, somebody's going to get punched in the face. They'll probably be down on the ground. The ref will be nearby. A second before, he'll be reaching into his pocket. He'll pull something out. And then whoever's going to lose this match, whether it be Mysterio or Rollins, whenever they put their hands to their face and blood's gushing everywhere, the ref's going to drop the eye, a fake eye. You might as well call up the Visine guy to officiate this match, for God's sakes. The ref's going to drop it right there, and the bell's going to ring, and we'll have ourselves a winner. But as mentioned, I've gone back and forth on this because, especially with Mysterio rumored to be working without a contract, it would make sense to have Mysterio put over Rollins, especially if Rey is going to go away and be done with the WWE, potentially go to another company. But then also Dominic is by his side, and they've been trying to build him up as Rey Mysterio's son, obviously. However, this isn't a Dominic custody on a pole match. It's an eye for an eye match with Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins. It would make sense to have Rollins go over and win this, especially if they see him as, because he is, don't get me wrong, he is one of the top heels right now in the whole entire company. And other than McIntyre and Randy Orton, he's one of the top guys on Monday Night Raw as well. So this could go either way. It's the first eye for an eye match ever in the WWE. AEW did this back in February. So who honestly knows, other than Vince and maybe a few others, including Mysterio and Rollins because they're in the match, who honestly knows what's going to happen? We'll have to find out and see come Sunday at the Horror Show at Extreme Rules. I'm going to pick Seth Rollins to win because I just feel like it would make more sense if he won, and then potentially he's a top contender for the WWE Championship alongside Randy Orton. Maybe he's Orton's first challenger after Orton, or even McIntyre for that matter, depending on what happens at SummerSlam. If McIntyre wins, okay, McIntyre Rollins. If Orton defeats Drew, Orton Rollins for the WWE Championship. But then, as mentioned, once again we have Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins sort of in a feud, so we'll see what happens there. So there's a couple different routes that they could take on Monday Night Raw, but honestly, I have no clue who's going to win this. I don't think anybody has any idea with what's going to happen, but give me the Monday Night Messiah, Seth frickin' Rollins, Mr. Nickname, as I like to call him, because he has so many goddamn nicknames. Rollins over Mysterio, but I really honestly wouldn't be surprised if Rey Mysterio won this, because as of late, Rollins he's been standing tall on recent Raws. However, with Dominic ringside, and then I would assume Buddy Murphy as well. We haven't seen Austin Theory since speaking out. Who knows what's up with him, if they're gonna bring him back into the fold as a disciple to Seth Rollins or not, or if they'll just keep it a two-man crew as it's been the past few weeks for Rollins and Murphy, as it was from the get-go. I think at this point too, because I've been saying it for quite a while, now would be the right time to have Buddy Murphy turn on Rollins or Rollins turn on Buddy Murphy, and maybe Buddy Murphy gets his eye taken out rather than Rollins. So Mysterio wins, but then because Murphy is one of the disciples to the Messiah, Seth Rollins, Buddy Murphy takes one for the team and gets one of his eyes ripped out of its socket in this eye for an eye match at Extreme Rules. Next, and certainly not last, there's no way in hell Bray Wyatt is going to lose a cinematic type match with his name in the title. A Wyatt Swamp Fight, Braun Strowman, Bray Wyatt. It's a non-title, so Bray can win this. Braun can afford to lose to Bray in the first ever Wyatt Swamp Fight. Bray Wyatt wins. We then get Monster Among Men Braun Strowman, The Fiend Bray Wyatt at SummerSlam for the Universal Championship, and then hopefully, knock on wood at that point, The Fiend recaptures the Universal Championship for the first time since losing it to Bill Goldberg, of all people, back in February in the desert of Saudi Arabia at Super Showdown. Now, if Braun does find a way to win, and Bray's just lying down, just out of it, soaking to the bottom of the swamp, at that point Braun's going to be standing there. It's going to get even darker, because I assume this is going to be taking place at night. It's probably already pre-taped. Braun turns around. He's then face-to-face with The Fiend. And at that point, that sets up Monster, Fiend, Universal Championship at SummerSlam. So those are my WWE The Horror Show at Extreme Rules preview predictions. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. Be sure to also like, follow, and subscribe on social media. As always, links in the description below. Be sure to also tune in. WWE The Horror Show at Extreme Rules live reactions, play-by-play, and an Extreme Rules live stream this Sunday right here on Gridiron Ring's YouTube channel, July the 19th, 2020 at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully you'll tune in. And honestly, we'll have to find out and see what happens, especially with the Wyatt Swamp Fight and the Eye for an Eye match this Sunday at the Horror Show at Extreme Rules.